Hey everyone, welcome to the Tuesday night Principal Chiropractic Talk, sponsored by DE and sponsored by Band of Brothers. Speaking of DE, a week from Thursday, DE starts. So just talked to Kat a minute ago. There's a waiting list for the room block. So if you still don't have a room, get with Kat and we have a waiting list and we'll try to get you a room. There are a lot of people who have booked their rooms and haven't registered. It is time to register. So get yourself registered. And if you haven't been sitting on the fence thinking about it, get yourself down to Atlanta, Georgia, because we all need it. We all need DE, and DE needs to be prosperous and abundant. And people on the planet right now need chiropractors to be the best us we can be. We got a special guest tonight. I met Bill at the last DE for the first time. Neat guy. He works with Coster and Judson up in Connecticut, born and raised in Connecticut, now practices in Farmington, Connecticut. Unique story. He's been in practice 21 years, but he's only been working for Judson and Coster for the past 2 years, and they just recently went to his 4th DE. So, like me, was in practice a long time before he found DE. And I'm just curious to see and hear his story because I met him, like I said, last DE. Neat guy from Farmington, Connecticut. We got Bill Stankosky. Again, Bill has been married and he's got a little boy. And last I saw, his little boy was right there on the stage ready to join him. So let's hear it for Bill Stankosky. Take it away.
Well, hello there, DE. Greetings from the Stankosky dining room. Alex is right off here, my son. He might be a little shy tonight. Oh, there he is.
Hi.
He just wants to say hi before heading off to bed.
No,
So,
I'm not going to bed.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Good night, Alex. Well, hello again. Super excited to be here. Hopefully all of our DE brothers and sisters in Florida have fared well through the hurricane. I myself have family down there, parents in Ocala, my brother's in Cape Coral, which got hit pretty hard, but he's doing okay. So hopefully our other brothers and sisters down there are doing good. Greetings on this night of Yom Kippur, everybody. And again, thank you for having me. Yes, last DE, Andy Harding came up to me and asked if I wouldn't mind doing this. So yes, I got volunteered to be here. So long-time listener, first-time caller, as they say. Anyways, DE, you're right. I am kind of a later arrival to DE. In fact, one of the speakers sometimes I resonate with is Dr. Shore. She even calls herself a late bloomer at times, and I feel that way as well at times. So just want to tell you a couple things. Well, one, through DE, yes, I do work with Steve Judson and Dr. Mike Coster, and I will definitely address that. But also wanted to share that I've met Dr. Brian Moriarty, who's also been coming alongside me and rooting for me and been kind of a mentor. And talking to him about this, he had suggested that I do share some of my stories since I am fairly new to the group, and I'm happy to do so. Like you said, I've been in practice 21 years. Well, let me back up a little bit. Born and raised in Connecticut, and it was in middle school. Now, I don't know about you guys, but going through school, gym class was an easy A as long as you tried the activity. I loved every activity there was except for gymnastics. I was horrible, well, still am, horrible at all these things, especially when it came to somersaults, to these things. But as long as you showed up, you tried the thing, you got your A. It's super easy. In gymnastics, we're doing somersaults. Partner up with another student, made sure you got over, because on my own I would just flop to the side or something. But the spotter forced you to go over straight. Well, my neck kind of went, and I heard this loud pop. I got up, I felt a little weird, wasn't in pain, That part came later at the end of the day. By the time I got home from school, my neck was killing me. Told my mom. She brought me to a chiropractor. In fact, many of you guys might have known this name, Dr. George Curry, who practices in Windsor, where I grew up. So she brought me to George, took x-rays. Back then, 13 years old, whatever I was like, as long as this guy don't stick me with a needle, I didn't want to be stuck with a needle. Still don't, as a matter of fact. He does this thing called an adjustment, made some funny noises in my neck, but instantly felt that relief. And I'm looking around like, well, okay, where's that needle coming? No needle. So I was happy as a clam. Well, shortly thereafter, mom and dad started bringing, I have a younger sister and a younger brother, started bringing the family in to get checked and adjusted. Became our way of life. And what a wonderful way of life it is, as you all know. So fast forward a little bit into my college years. Graduated Windsor High School, went to Worcester Polytechnic Institute, which is a small science and engineering school up here in the Northeast. Originally thought I was going to be in computer science, but that kind of changed. So I'm at WPI very early on, freshman year, and I was okay. I was fairly active. But a couple of buddies that I met, we tried this thing called Ultimate Frisbee, if you guys know what that is. It's kind of like the combination of basketball and football, but played with a Frisbee. So you have to run around and try to get open for your teammate to throw you the Frisbee. And much like basketball, a lot of quick turns and cuts. After about a week of doing that, my low back was killing me. So I found a chiropractor. Coincidentally, he was right down the street from the campus. And that was a good thing because freshmen weren't allowed to have cars, such a small school. So I could literally walk from campus to his office. And he adjusted me, got me back on track. And every time, while I was at college, I kept seeing him, kept getting my regular checkups and adjustments by this doctor. His name was Robert Day, real nice guy. And again, started in computer science. First semester didn't go so well. Switched to mechanical engineering. Now, at some point, I think it was freshman year, maybe early sophomore year, Dr. Day turned to me and he goes, "You know what? You'd make a great chiropractor one day." Here, I just switched majors. Mom and dad are going to kill me if I switch again. So, stayed the course, completed my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and went out and joined the workforce. But that seed was planted that day. And while I'm working, got a job with a robotics company. I'm out because I was young and willing to travel. I got volunteered or voluntold, however that works. I was part of the installation group. So they sent me all over the country, helping out with the installations of these big material handling robots. And, early to mid 20s, kind of a process of self-discovery. I was fine working with the machines, but everywhere we went, we worked with these local subcontractors that we'd hire on to help us. And I just found I loved working with the people. Now, I've always had a helpful nature. I just love helping people. I'm that guy in the grocery store when I see the shorter person. I'm 6 foot tall, by the way. When I see a person trying to reach up to the shelf, I'm like, here, let me get that for you. Just my nature. So I'm out in the field. I'm working. Love working with the people, love teaching people in my spare time because I'm traveling. You can only go home so often, reading books, just natural healthcare. These things kind of piqued my curiosity. So I'm reading these books on this stuff. Had been adjusted since I was 13. So a bunch of stuff all came together at once, including that seed that was planted those years ago. And I decided to become a chiropractor. I just felt a calling on my life. I'm sure many of you have as well. So you can probably relate to what I'm saying here. So felt that calling on my life. Started writing or calling or whatever I did back then to the different schools. And they'd send me information in the mail. And one of the schools in particular, now I didn't know much about, the Palmers or Dr. Sid or any of these things. But Parker College, back then, now this was mid-90s, not only did they send me the paper materials, but they sent me a video cassette. Yes, I'm showing my age here, but they sent me this video cassette, put it in the VCR, scenes of the school, students talking, and at the very end, Dr. Jim comes on. and he starts talking about how loving service is his first or his primary technique. And he talked about this thing called the love concept. It was all about helping people and taking good care of people. And that just resonated with me. So I decided to go to Parker College. Again, knew nothing about any of the schools, but that resonated with me. And so to Dallas, Texas, I went. Had a pretty good education too. In fact, a lot of my teachers this was back when Parker was principal. I've heard all kinds of things since then. A lot of my teachers were old Palmer guys. In fact, a couple of them had been on Palmer campus when BJ was still alive and walking around. So some neat stories out of there. So I had a really interesting, really good education, but it was a really interesting time to be there. Because I started the month after Dr. Jim died. So I never got to meet him. Much the same way I never got to meet Dr. Sid. But the two of them seem like just amazing leaders in the profession. And I wish I had the chance to meet them live. But what a legacy these guys leave behind, huh? So, anyways, Parker College, graduated in April of 2001 and moved back home to Connecticut. In fact, I started working with George Curry right out of school. So got my feet wet there. Also at that time, I met my wife, Sherry. Now, she wasn't my wife then, but we both worked in downtown Hartford, the capital of Connecticut. Kind of bumped into each other there. And last Wednesday, last Wednesday, we celebrated 19 years of marriage. So, yes, just the rest is history, as they say. So here I am in Connecticut, newly married, and my wife had a coworker who they just became empty nesters and moved down to the Tampa, Florida area back in 2004. And we made the mistake of visiting them in January of 2005. So we get off the plane in Tampa. It's 80 degrees in the middle of winter. Again, Connecticut born and raised. And believe it or not, Dallas gets freezing cold in the winter. So to see a winter at 80 degrees just blew our minds. So that was a no-brainer. We decided to look into life in Florida. And I ended up applying for it in a couple places and got a job in a place called Ocala, Florida. It's horse country. It's Central Florida. Beautiful place to live and raise a family. It's inland. It's 90 miles west of Daytona. So it's probably the place people have been evacuating to with this recent hurricane. But spent 13 years down there practicing. Had a wonderful time, and I always joke that my wife dragged me kicking and screaming back up here to the Northeast, but she truly missed the family. So it was a blessing for her to, for all of us really, to come back here. But during that time, of course, our son was born there in Florida. So just a blessed time down there. But my wife, her mother passed away last December. So we've been living 5 minutes down the road from my in-laws. So it was really just you talk about time and seasons, just a time to be back here, and for her to have that last 3.5 years. I don't want to say constantly over there, but could be with her mom quite a bit. So that was a blessing for us there. So anyways, I come back here, and where I was in Florida the last 6 years or so out of the 13, really a great thing. I was an independent contractor in an office, group practice. So I had the benefit of multiple heads, 2 heads better than one, that kind of thing. There was actually 4 of us there, but didn't have the headaches of ownership. And coming back up here, I'm like, gosh, I don't want to really start from scratch. So I'll go looking for a job, to see who's hiring. And end up work for a couple different places, and then bam, COVID hit, and never thought I'd have this happen, but I ended up getting laid off. The one place I was at, it was multiple doctors, just people stopped showing up, and he just couldn't keep us all on. But the silver lining, the blessing in disguise, is that I had my sabbatical for about 6 months, started looking around, and that's when I met one Dr. Steve Judson. And, God has a plan for all of us, directs our steps, as the Bible says. couldn't have landed in a better spot. I tell you what, Steve and Mike are great guys. I'm sure most of you know them. I know everybody at DE knows Steve, but just a wonderful spot to end up. And I'm now working with them. I'm in their Farmington office, and that practice is doing well and growing. But like I said, a little bit of a late bloomer here. In fact, I wanted to talk about some of that. DE. So, that's the first time I'd really ever heard of that, was working with Steve. And so my first DE was January of 21. And it was just amazing. I mean, I just remember the energy in the room, just being there, hearing all the speakers. What a awesome experience. I know you guys, I'm preaching to the choir here, but I know you guys know what that's like. But it's funny because through the years, I'll be honest with you, you kind of get beat up and being down in the trenches. But those principles, again, things like the nervous system controls the immune system, things that currently Parker might not be preaching or teaching their students. Been a long day for Dr. Bill. That was taught to me. All these things were taught to me, and they're in there. The best way I can describe my first DE was kind of a redigging of a well, kind of dredging up these things, bringing these things back to the surface that had been dormant for a while. And that was just an amazing feeling. Started reading Dr. Sid's book, about how he fell in love with that piece of cookware, if you will. And if you guys have read it, you know what I'm talking about. That love, that loving service that drove me to Parker. Now I'm reading about Dr. Sid's version of that, and it's just amazing. Just trying to read all I could. And so Ben was at that DE, and just went through the year, and just we have regular meetings of our group. So Steve and Mike said, you know what, we want all the doctors to be at each of the 4 DEs. So we worked out a thing, and so now this year I've been to 3 out of 3 this year, and each DE has a lot of awesome stuff. A lot of personal growth. I tend to sit there and take a lot of notes, as most of you do, and then you get to work. You get to do the work. You in between, from one DE to the next, you're doing the work, and a lot of it's in here. It's all internal work, as you guys know. Pulled a lot of these things in. The 49 breaths. That's been a game changer for me. Showing up early to the office. Nobody else is there. It's super quiet. You just get to think. You get to reflect. You just get to set your tone, set your mind for the day. That's been a blessing. I mean, we all show up wanting to help people in these things, but that extra step. There's a lot of things I've been taken away from this, and still much more to come, I'm sure. Wanted to share with you guys. I know a lot of people, just 4 DEs now under my belt. Not always rainbows and sunshine. This last DE, I kind of left there, and I don't know what the right word is, but I wasn't all like pumped up and excited. But I had a very interesting experience. I don't know if you guys were there, remember, but when Dan 2 spoke, he talked about that reel of self-criticism going. And I said, you know what? That guy's describing me right now. And that was a gut check. Sometimes, as Steve says, love is a left hook. This was a gut check for me. It really hit home. But since that time, I've been doing the work. I didn't leave there all rainbows and sunshine, but I'm doing the work, and the practice is growing. It's been a blessing. And I can see changes in me, and hopefully those around me can as well. But anytime with DE, you're going to resonate. You're going to be at different places in your life. As a Christian, I know every time we read the Bible, that same scripture will speak to us differently. DE is no different. You're going to hear a speaker, you're going to hear a message, and you're going to be at that moment in your life when you need to hear that. And when that's the next husk you have to shed, that's the next topic you need to work on as you develop yourself. So I really encourage you all as often as you can to make it there. Just want to touch on a couple things. I talk about doing the work, and this came to my mind that, do the work. Well, but the work is hard. Well, do it anyway. And that's some of my own self-talk. Wanted to share with you a couple things. I know, my time is short. I only have 4 or 5 hours. No, I'm kidding. But recently in the practice, I just want to share this story with you guys. Everybody, we all have our success stories. We're all touching people's lives daily. It's wonderful. But I had this young lady named Abby start, and she came in as more of a personal injury type patient. We'll see patients from, all walks of life, however they got there. My heart is to help them. So she comes in, and on her first visit, had this interesting conversation. And I just felt led to give her a copy of Steve's book. You guys know Steve's book. So I gave her the book. I said, "Are you a reader?" She's like, "Well, not really." Comes back the next visit. She's like, "Oh my goodness, I am halfway through that book. It is amazing. It's really been life-changing for her." After she just had her first re-exam, after 1 month of care, she's having some pain relief, but she recently lost her sister and has been going through such sorrow, depression. She's a pharmacy tech, so the medicine is plentiful. She of course sees a doctor, and she said, "You know what? I read that book halfway through, and I had my appointment with some medical doctor or psychiatrist or whatever the next day." And she said, "It just kept in my mind." So she's like, "I got the prescription, I filled it, but I didn't take those pills. I just wanted to see how I do." Again, fast forward, first re-exam was just the other day. She's like, "Oh my goodness, I haven't taken any of the meds." Now she's still grieving her sister, but she's like, it is night and day different. Like her mental state, her emotional state, totally transformed. And we're not even done with her yet. Just an amazing, amazing story. I know you guys have these stories, and that's why we do what we do. All right. So I just want to leave you guys with one more thing for the week, if I may. Hopefully this AV works good. But how many of you guys are familiar with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? Of course, Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow. And he had a first mate. I don't remember the guy's name. But see these guys? Let's see if I can get it in the camera. Yeah, these guys right here. There's a quote from that movie. And in fact, I think it's that scene that I just showed you. It says, I think it's one of them says, "Take what you can." And the other guy says, "Give nothing back." Well, of course, they're pirates. That makes sense for them. But I think for DE, what we need to do is give all you can, hold nothing back. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you again for having me. God bless you guys.
Aye, matey. Give all you can. Hold nothing back. I like that.
You like that one?
I love it. I love it. Hey, you know what? You probably said this at least 10 times during your talk. Do the work. Do the work. Do the work. All right. You see, You went to the class. You went to the meeting, took all these notes, And I know a lot of people take notes and get all fired up at DE, but they don't go do the work, or they just kind of let it, just be a jacuzzi moment, for lack of a better term, man. And I applaud you for doing the work. I applaud you for telling everybody else, it's hard, do it anyway. I love it. I love it. I mean, there's got to be urgency, because if we aren't urgent what we do, then our communities suffer, right?
Absolutely.
So, I appreciate you stepping up out of your comfort zone, and you did an awesome job. And your son stole the show. Sorry, but that's all right.
He always does. I'm not Bill. I'm Alex's dad.
There you go. There you go.
I should have put that as my name on the thing.
You did a great job, and appreciate you stepping up. And I can't wait to get a big hug this weekend or 2 weeks ago. Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Love you all. Have a great night, and register, and make sure if you don't have a room, make sure you get with Kat. And also one other thing, if you are coming, you have to pay ahead for the luncheon. So I really don't know how that works, but get with Kat and make sure you pay ahead for the luncheons, because we want to make sure everybody is well fed and well nourished when we're there at DE. So love and appreciate y'all. Have a great night. Thanks, Bill.